going on, you railroading rump rangers? Ow. What did you put on my seat?
Wasn't me, man. Wasn't me.
You bundle of sticks.
Hey, if
how's
you're
everybody
using your
doing?
shit, it's not designed. It's your problem. Huh?
Welcome to Grunt Speak.
Live. It actually is live.
It actually is live. No pre-recorded today. I'm Toxic Male. That's the portly Punisher.
We're changing names now, aren't we?
Yeah, you got your smoking jacket on today.
I do.
You know,
I love these things.
But you don't smoke cigarettes, so
No.
what do you smoke?
Nothing.
No? Meat Gazer's Paradise?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Smoke a pack of Meat Gazers twice a day?
Nope.
Smoke a whole carton of fucks is what you do. I hope everybody's enjoying themselves today. It's Happy Tuesday. Happy almost the end of November.
Yeah. We got, what, one more day?
Yeah, one more day.
Yeah.
One more day.
Then we're in the hell known as December.
Well, that's why you made the Holiday Blues video.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important.
It is.
If you guys haven't seen that one yet, definitely check it out because this time of year, the people start to get a little bit depressed. They start to get a little bit run down, especially if they're isolated. Pop told you how to figure it out.
Yep. And tomorrow, we got the dog tag video coming out. It's 2 minutes long.
Yeah, nice and short.
Yeah. And share the shit out of it.
Nice and short, just like the Latinas that you love so much.
Yeah.
Well, when they're not chasing you with a bat.
Yeah. I've given them.
Or a big blue dildo.
There's just too much trouble. I don't mess with those.
That's important.
I'm done. I'm retired.
Too old to be running and jumping over the 8-foot wall away from crazy Mexican lady.
I'm retired philanderer. It's done. It's a done deal.
Yeah, you're a philodendron now instead, just vegetation.
Pretty much. Now, today, we talked about the railroads before the midterms because there was a strike that was rumored to happen, which would be more like a, mass call-in sick. It's the same thing cops do. But it was kiboshed with, hiding with Biden and his cronies decided that they said they solved the problem.
Yeah, right.
They didn't solve shit.
Oh, you mean just like they beat Big Pharma?
Yeah.
By forcing people to take experimental pokes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you beat Big Pharma.
Absolutely.
Wah. We want to introduce him to you. He's our inside man in the railroad industry. He goes by Texas Raildog, and he's got a nice hat. So check it out. How you doing, Texas Raildog?
All right, how are y'all?
He definitely from Texas, in case y'all couldn't tell from the accent. Welcome to the show, sir.
All right, man.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I know you were one of our Patreon supporters for quite a while until that went two tits to the sky because, we're not allowed to tell the truth on that platform.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, no, because, the truth, it hurts.
It hurts.
I'm just shocked that.
Not as much as myocarditis, but hey, who am I to judge?
Yeah, who are we? I just never thought I would actually live in a society where you're turned into a villain for speaking the truth and standing up for the Constitution.
Yeah.
Welcome to the United States.
Welcome to current year.
Yeah, well, all I could say is if this gets bad, it's going to get mighty interesting.
And that's actually why we got you on the show, Raildog. But
yes,
first things first, I mean, I know you've been working in the industry for a while now, but how long and why did you choose the railroad industry?
Well, I used to be a heavy equipment mechanic. I got my start in the military in the United States Army working on field artillery. And after I got out of after I got out of the Army and everything, I didn't know anything but to turn wrenches. So I went into the civilian world, busting knuckles on heavy equipment, working in coal mines and this and that. And I kind of beat my body up over the years. So I decided I had a good friend of mine that I grew up with that worked for the railroad. And what he did as far as what I did was a hell of a lot easier. So I decided, well, why don't I just try to go to work for the railroad and kind of take it a much easier path on my body.
Yep.
So, yeah, I went to work for the railroad in 2003. And
it's almost 20 years now.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, 2003, I was in the mob station getting ready for Iraq.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, luckily, I didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to deploy anywhere. I was when I served, I was during peacetime and everything. So everybody says, well, thank you for your service. Well, I didn't do nothing. I just showed up.
Yeah, I got it. But at least you stood your time on the fence.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years were we in? 4, 6, what?
4 years.
4 years. All right, you did you're square with the house.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Like,
Well, hey, I don't regret it one bit. My daughter's going to college right now, and she's using. And hey, this is a little fun fact. She's going to college on my GI Bill, but it's not called the GI Bill in Texas. We're the only state in the United States that has it. She's going to college, and it's paying 100% of her tuition.
Oh, wow.
Because I live in Texas, and I joined the service while I lived in Texas, and they have this thing called the Hazelwood Act, and it pays 100% of her tuition.
wow.
Because I did not use my GI Bill.
Oh.
So I do not regret it one bit. It worked out for the best, and it worked out even better because I was from Texas.
Yeah, Texas
Excellent.
really does tend to take very good care of their vets.
Well, yeah, and we do have that Hazelwood Act, and we are the only state that has that. And the Democrats have been trying to get rid of that for the past 30 years.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Totally
Yeah,
shocked.
shocker, right?
Yeah.
Smells like your ex.
You're gonna get me sued, bro. Stop.
Speaking of which, 488 lives saved on the board, in case you guys missed last week. So we're just 12 away from equaling the number of cocks that got ran through her. Sorry, I had to do it.
Damn.
Allegedly rumored. Okay.
Rumored.
That's hard, man. That's hard.
That's exactly what
Literally.
she said.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
Now, when I was in New York, I traveled back and forth between Utica, New York, and Detroit via Amtrak. And I could say on probably a half a dozen occasions, one time I was over 8 hours late, and all of the other times I was late, it was by like 3 hours or more. So when they decide they're going to be late, boy, they fucking knock it out of the park.
Are we sure that the railroad industry isn't run by chicks?
It could be.
Just question.
The chick time thing. Every chick working on that train, you add 15 minutes to your arrival, and before you know it, you're 4 hours fucking late.
Yeah, we would drop you off at the station while the leaves are burning off the brake pads, but I might break a nail. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Murphy
if
shows
if you really knew who was running the railroads, it's far worse than a chick, man.
up. I imagine.
Democrats.
Well, the thing
Well,
is,
let's just put it this way: it's full of diversity hires.
that explains
say
everything.
no more. Yeah.
But like for instance,
Wow.
traveling between New York State and Michigan, there was a choke point over a bridge, and there was a couple times I was stuck there, just thumbjacking my shit box, doing nothing for 2-3 hours as a never-ending line of freight trains were coming the other way.
That's good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to some of the people that work there, and they're like, "Hey, the tracks are in terrible condition." Oh my! Listen,
Yep.
and I mean, when I was in those train stations, it was literally a hive of scum and villainy from Star Wars. I just couldn't believe it.
Well, that's the passenger thing for you.
Yeah.
One of the articles that Raildog sent over to me is actually kind of touches on what you're saying here. Now, all sources available on Redonkulas.com. Make sure you guys go to the homepage, click on Watch Our Content. It'll take you to everything listed in order. And you can see here, Class 1 railroads continue the longer train trend. Some of these trains stretching up to 15,000 feet long. That's almost 3 miles.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
5,280 feet in 1 mile.
Yeah. So that's just shy of 3 miles.
Yeah, that's a long ass train.
Yep. And of course, why? To boost productivity, gain more efficiencies, and cut costs.
Mm-hmm.
What they need to say is to produce longer trains that takes less crews to get it from point A to point B.
Sounds about right.
Yep. I don't know, man. All I could say is it doesn't take rocket science to take 15 minutes to research our trains that we have in this country to realize they've been neglected for about 50 years, and they've been maintained on a shoestring budget.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have, affirmative action and diversity hires, which, I'm just going to be honest, it lowers the quality of the employees that they hire.
No.
So now you have worn out equipment, people who don't give a shit and people who are incompetent running
You know,
our
yeah,
trains.
you're exactly right on that. But going back to the fact that trains are running up to 15,000 feet long, that's the safety aspect of it right there. When I first hired out in '03, our trains were typically 4,000 to 6,000 feet long. The problem is that we have today with these longer trains is the longer the train, the more the problems you have
Mm-hmm.
as far as mechanical problems.
Of course.
And
It's a numbers
right,
game.
it's called Murphy's Law. You know
Yeah.
all about Murphy,
I know
right?
Murphy.
Yeah, we do. He visits us in the studio often.
That motherfucker.
Yeah, Murphy's a bitch and he's cruel as hell. And I mean, when we break down, and it does happen from time to time where a train stops because it could be anything from mechanical to electrical. And when we stop that train to alleviate the problem or try to alleviate the problem, at any given point in time, we can have 3 up to 9 highway crossings blocked. And sometimes
Whoa.
yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is in the territory that I work in.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Damn.
I mean, if you're out in Wyoming, that's a different story where, every 12 miles you might see a railroad crossing.
Mm-hmm.
But where I'm at, there's hundreds of railroad crossings over 170 something miles of territory that I
Whoa.
run between.
Okay.
And I mean, there's been so many times that I've blocked railroad crossings in major cities, and I go back. My job is to fix the problem, whatever it may be, or try to fix it. And I go back to these railroad crossings, and all I can tell these people, we're trying to get out of here as fast as we can. I am so sorry. If you can turn around and reroute yourself, that would probably be the best thing for you.
All
But
right.
sometimes these railroad crossings, there's no way for them to turn around. And it's just, it's bad because what if there's an ambulance sitting there with somebody in the back of it?
Well, they're dead.
Yeah.
They're gonna die.
Pretty much. And
They're
listen,
gonna die.
well, the thing is, whenever you have unexpected delays or emergencies or crazy stuff, you can pretty much guarantee in the background people are dying.
Exactly.
If the cops can't get there, if the ambulance can't get there, if they can't get you to the hospital, you're going to get expired.
Mhm.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And ever since they've started this long trains, they've been doing it for about 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
We've always wondered, how can they keep getting away with this when we have the government watchdogs that oversee railroads, the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, and the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA. Those government entities has always been our watchdogs to keep railroads from doing unsafe stuff. And when they started doing this a couple of years ago, we was like, there's no way that the FRA and the NTSB is going to keep allowing this. But they're letting it happen like it's no big deal. And, out on the railroad, us employees, we've always, talked amongst ourselves about, well, all it's going to take is for a senator's family member or somebody's family member that's sitting at a railroad crossing in the back of an ambulance with a heart attack or something else to die, and maybe something will get done, because that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, it always comes down to that. Now, here's another thing. You have a train that's 16,000 feet long, and it derails. Worst case scenario. And they lose half those fucking cars.
That's right.
That whole railroad line is going to be shut down for quite some time, picking up that clusterfuck. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right on that. And the scariest thing about that is, even though we get paid to haul some of the most deadliest chemicals known to man, we get paid to haul these chemicals, but at the same time, railroads are forced to haul these chemicals because statistically it's safer to haul it by rail than it is by truck.
Yep.
So let's just say that we got 3 or 4 cars in a train that's carrying chlorine gas.
When you're done, I got a story for you. Keep going.
And let's just say that train derails in the middle of a big city like Dallas, Texas. There's a area where we go through in Dallas, Texas, where John F. Kennedy got his haircut.
Yeah, from the book suppository. I got you.
That's exactly right. We pass right through that area.
Sweet.
On any given day, especially on the weekends, it is a huge tourist attraction. And I don't know why people are still interested in JFK getting a haircut right there, but
they
are.
want to see the side of that epic haircut.
Yeah. It was a good haircut. Everyone should watch it.
A little off the top.
I'm just saying,
But
that was pretty good.
If the train was to derail right there and one chlorine gas car turns over and gets ruptured,
it's a done deal.
We are literally talking about hundreds of people dying.
All right.
In minutes. In minutes.
Yeah, I know. When I was working for the 414 Civil Affairs out of Southfield, Michigan, I was working as an S2, which is an intel guy, and I got a directive from the Department of Defense to actually go to the rail yards in and around Detroit and assess them for terrorist threats. And I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, I was in full uniform, the green beret, the boots, the whole deal. Parked my car like 2 blocks away, went to the fence. There was like 18 fucking holes in the fence. Walked through, was literally walking up and down the whole fucking rail yard for about an hour and a half before, I was questioned by one of the workers. And then the security came and the cops came. Because you guys have your own police department, right?
That is true.
No.
We used to have our own police department. We still supposedly do, but they fired everybody during the massive layoffs after the pandemic.
Yep.
So one police officer for the railroad, they're called special agents. They have federal jurisdiction.
Uh-huh.
One police officer has a territory over 300 miles in radius.
Well, then, yeah, that's pretty much not going to.
Whoa.
But this is the chemical that I found, and there was like 3 tanks of it, tanker cars. What is it? Dimethyl mercury.
Right?
That shit is worse than fucking nerve gas. You get 1 drop, will go right through your skin, and you will die a miserable, slow fucking death, and they can't save you.
Oof.
All right.
No.
And like I'm sitting there and I'm taking pictures of this dimethyl mercury car. I have the railroad cop come up. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, and I pulled out. I had a piece of paper. I pull it out and I hand it to him. They're like, "What is this?" And I go, "Well, the Department of Defense wants me to review your railroad yards for security." "Well, nobody told us about that." I'm like, "Well, that's why they sent me. I'm not gonna call you and make your job easy. I'm here to record." And they were flipping out like, "We're gonna arrest you." And I'm like, "Okay, go ahead." I mean, the you're gonna have the whole military in here. I was literally told to do this, and there was no fucking security, none.
Guess what, Pop? There still is no security,
I know.
really.
Like if people really wanted to be a-holes, they could go mess with the tracks, and just paralyze this entire country.
Hey, Pop.
Yeah.
Can you please move the beer bottle? Because it looks like you got a big brown cock sticking up in the foreground.
Hey, you're the one that moved the goddamn camera around, man.
I mean, I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, 15,000-foot train, or what Pop Sex calls a Wednesday night.
He's got a big brown boner between his legs.
Easy. But what I'm saying here is I have no idea why that hasn't happened already.
Well, that's a $1 million question. I went to work for the railroad after 9/11, and of course, I started working with employees that was working during 9/11, and it was a big freaking deal. Not only did they stop the damn planes flying in the air for a few days, but they also stopped the trains.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since then, I've always wondered how this hasn't happened since 9/11. It would be so easy. I mean, a little brick of a little clay substance attached to the side of a car with a remote detonator that somebody calls from a cell phone. Well, now you got a chemical bomb that
Did you
just
guys think
detonated right in the
alike?
middle of a major city.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm an evil genius,
Do you guys think a lot?
and this
alike
is
there?
exactly what I think about.
Well,
And I'm not
well,
suggesting
Blake,
anyone take
that's
up a
how
hobby.
veterans are.
All right, just so we're clear.
That's how veterans are. And what about this? A liquid propane car traveling through a major populated area.
We're so banned. They're going to say, "Oh, you're encouraging
That would be terrible.
dishonest behavior."
But the thing is, this is nothing new.
Oh no,
I don't want it. I don't want this to happen. I'm just talking about it because maybe somebody could fucking put some fucking fencing up
or something.
with some goddamn barbed wire.
Maybe more than one cop for every 300 miles.
Yeah. And keep people fucking out of there.
You would think.
Yeah.
Because
You would think.
you're not going to fuck with the train once it starts moving unless you damage the tracks.
Yeah, I mean, because this is essentially a monopoly busince when you think
Correct.
about it.
It is. It is. It's very close to a monopoly. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if there's a track that has a break in the rail, isn't there like an alarm that goes off because they run an electric current through there?
Well, you're correct on that. We run down the rail on traffic signals just like you would on a highway. You got an intersection with a red light. That's what we operate trains on. If anything happens to the rail, it throws a red signal in front of us and it lets us know that there's something wrong. Yes.
All right. Well, that makes me feel just a little bit better.
But tell us about the whole monopoly angle there. I mean, I'm sure that from the inside it looks very different from what's out here because the media sure as hell isn't going to tell the truth about anything going on. So.
No, they're not. And so the whole thing about the railroad industry, you got short line railroads, and then you got what you call Class 1 railroads. Class 1 railroads are the large railroads, and there's only 7 of them in the United States.
I thought there was 8.
7.
No, there's 7.
Okay.
There's 7 large railroads in the United States, and back in the 50s and the 60s, the federal government started allowing, all the way up until the 1990s, started letting bigger railroads purchase smaller railroads, and basically what they were doing is just letting the railroad industry monopolize.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the reason why the federal government was doing that, it was a promise to the United States that there would always be a even, steady flow of freight. And the railroads promised the federal government, well, if you let us purchase these smaller railroads and become bigger, we will make sure there will never be a disruption in the flow chain of the supply chain.
Yep. And that is literally on the verge of collapsing.
I was going to say that that ends well
because
that ages well.
You actually work for a railroad company. All right.
That's correct.
I've talked to a couple guys, one in California at one of the deep docks where they unload the freight from China.
China.
And it is literally packed. And they can't get people in there to work. And I blame a lot of that on the vax mandate. Because a lot of people are like, fuck it, I'm not going to work this job if you're going to make me get the poke and smoke.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's just a drop in the bucket. The main reason why they can't get people to work for the railroad industry is because when I came to work for the railroad industry in 2003, it was one of those things where I sat through my interview process and they was sure to hammer the point. You do realize you're accepting a job where you're going to be on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And you are a family man. Are you going to be able to keep the home fires burning at home? And I accepted the job with the full idea of what I was getting into. So today we're having a problem with today's younger generation where
they don't want to work like that.
Well, it's not just that they don't want to work, but they see other jobs out there that are paying, an upwards of $75,000 to $100,000 a year, and they work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5,
and they get the weekends off, and paid vacations. I know.
And they get all that good stuff. But it's like, why would I go as a young man? Why would I go to work for the railroad industry when I can do something else and be, baker's hours?
Yeah, that's actually I talked about that with the military pay and the guy working at McDonald's.
Yep.
The guy gets out of high school, goes to McDonald's, works 40 a week, and he actually out earns somebody in the military. Up until that person in the military has been there for 3 years before it even breaks even. It's a no-brainer. Why the fuck would you want to go in the military and put up with all that extra horse shit when you're not being compensated for
Yeah.
it? And I couldn't even imagine being on call 24/7, 365, and them, paying me $75,000 a year. Go get fucked.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
It's a tough life. I mean, I've been doing it for so long, I don't know anything different now, and I'm just used to it, and I've learned how to live around it. But I'm not gonna lie. The railroad industry has a divorce rate second to the military.
I believe it. I believe it because you sign your ass up for the military, you're on the hook 24/7, 365, and it destroys marriages and relationships.
Yep.
So
yeah, I talked to some recent employees that's only been out on the railroad for less than a year. I was just talking to this young guy just the other day that was a Iraq and Afghanistan Marine, and young guy, he's 24 years old and everything, and he was talking about settling down and marrying his girl and maybe having kids.
Get the hell out of that business.
And I told him, I said, you might want to hold off on that. I said, you might want to wait at least a couple of years to see if she can adapt to this railroad life.
Yep. That's actually quite wise.
But otherwise, half.
But the thing is they're going to have to change the business model that they're using because, one, it's inefficient. Two, they can't keep enough people working for them.
Yep.
All right. And because if there's other industries where you're only working 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and you can't keep up with that, you're not going to ever have people or quality people work for you.
Yeah.
That's
Another
exactly
article
right.
that Raildog sent here, labor shortage for railroads have slashed the workforce by 33%. This was August of last year. They were anticipating 500 new employees on the property, they said. But let me see here. He says, it's an enormous challenge for us to go out and find people that want to be conductors on the railroad, just like it's hard to find people that want to be baristas or anything else. It's very difficult. So even though we brought on 200 new employees, we're way short of where we thought we would be by now. Railroads are grappling with a weird phenomenon that is a combination of labor shortages and 12.6 million people still claiming some form of unemployment compensation amid stimulus-fueled demand.
Yeah, I got you. And that might be legitimate problems. But the main problem that they're not going to talk about is the fact they want to pay you 75, 80 grand a year to be a bitch to the railroad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what you become. You become a railroad slut.
Yeah. And when the government's giving you free shit, why would you want to go sign up for that?
Well,
I wouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good case in point. And we're in that part now where we have soft men who are going to make hard times.
Oh, yeah.
That we're there.
We are there.
Well, you touched on that there, Pop, and I'd like to add to that. I'm kind of the old school generation where when I go to work every day, I feel like I want to do something that is actually means something. And I work in the rail industry because of what I do on a daily basis is basically I'm helping America go from day to day. So I put my name on it every time I get on that train and I go from point A to point B.
So you made it your purpose, and I get it. And
it's like
works.
it's like my son, he works in the oil industry, and then he gets it. He's just like me, even though he's only 23 years old. But you go to work every day, you want to feel like you're accomplishing something, that your job actually has meaning. But to the younger generation doesn't feel that way.
Nope.
So
now I know one thing.
Now you have a cultural problem. You have a cultural problem that like, why would I want to work for this company making this amount of money where I have no life, no social life at all?
Yep.
But yet I can work for this company and work Monday through Friday and have weekends off, holidays, everything else. I don't even get paid holiday pay.
Damn.
Yeah, there's no fucking way I would put up with that.
No.
I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
they're going to have to change their business model or they're done.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. And that is basically with the contract situation and everything. That's what the railroad and the unions are trying to address is the fact that they know they need to change. They just don't know how they want to change. That's going to, let's just be honest. I mean, companies are in business to make money.
Correct.
They're not going to do anything that's going to cost them money.
Well,
True.
I mean, they're actually going to be coming to the point where they either change or they are gone.
The railroads are going to be here long after we're dead and gone. The railroads
I'm not telling you that the rail is going to disappear. I'm just telling you that companies that don't adapt are going to fail, and other companies will come in willing to adapt who will succeed. That's the way capitalism works.
That is true.
So, but
Or
the
unless,
thing is,
unless Uncle Sam decides, well, the railroads are too big to fail. We can't let them fail, and we'll just buy them out.
Oh, just like they did with Amtrak.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, of course, if you're going to make it like, turn the whole train debacle into one big socialistic experiment, it's going to fucking fail that way too.
It's always a bad idea.
I mean, the government never shows up and they never make anything better.
Yep.
They don't.
No,
I'm
they
from
do
the
not.
government and I'm here to help. Yeah, that's always gone well.
Yeah, that's the first sentences to a fucking, sleep paralysis nightmare.
That's oblivion. And you're done.
What were you going to say there, Texas?
No, you're exactly right. And the federal government and the railroads are so intertwined that the American public don't even know or understand. And hell, I've been working for the railroad for almost 20 years and I still can't even wrap my head around it. But there's just one step away. If the federal government decided that they needed to take over the railroad industry, they would.
Yeah.
And make us pay for it.
Yeah, and it would be a huge clusterfuck.
Yep.
It would be. It would be.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that one thing everybody is wondering is that we know that the railroad does have unions.
That is true.
But it doesn't seem like with your scheduling and how all this has been going, I mean, I think you guys have been running without a federal contract now for over 2 years, that the unions even have any power in this relationship. So how did it come to this?
So in July of this year was our 2-year anniversary without working with a contract.
2.5 years.
Lovely.
2.5 years, no contract.
Yeah, ask anybody else
No
if they work
contract.
without a contract. The kind of schedule that you're working.
Yeah.
And in over 19 years that I've been with the railroad, that was the longest that we have ever worked without having a contract agreed upon. So in July, when that anniversary came about and the union couldn't come up with an agreement and the company couldn't come with an agreement, we went into what you call a 90-day cooling off period. So we had to wait for 90 days to go by, which the anniversary for 90 days was towards the end of September.
Uh-huh.
All right. So in September, when they said, well, can we come up with an agreement now? The company and the union said, no, we don't have an agreement. So basically what that meant was now a presidential emergency board was appointed. That's the only time that the government gets involved is when we get to that point. That's not the first time that's happened in the rail industry, but this time it went to the presidential emergency board, which is 2 Democrat lawyers and 1 Republican lawyer that is selected by the presidential administration. They're basically attorneys. We have no idea who they are. Their names are anonymous. They are selected only by the presidential administration, and they come up with a tentative agreement. Once they come up with the tentative agreement, then they present it to the railroad, the company side and the union side. Well, when they came up with the tentative agreement, the union and the company the companies, I should say, because it's more than just one railroad. It's all Class 1 railroads in the United States. They still couldn't come up with an agreement. The company didn't like it, and whatever reason they didn't like it, and the union didn't like it for whatever reason they didn't like it. So then we went into what you call a 30-day cooling off period.
Another one.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was towards the end of October.
This sounds more like 2 weeks to flatten the curve all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't work the first time? We'll just do it for another 2 fucking years. It'll eventually take.
All right, so strike for New Year's.
God. Son of a bitch.
So we went into that 30-day cooling off period, which brought us to the end of October.
Uh-huh.
That's when the Biden administration announced across the mainstream media that we've reached a deal. No, we didn't reach a deal, but yeah.
So they lied.
Yeah, and I'm sure Facebook totally fact checked him.
Yeah. Well, my thing is this. You got the railroads operating under a, early 1900 mindset or way of doing business. We are now in 2022.
Right.
They have to adapt.
Yeah.
And one of the big problems that's taking place from, what I've been able to see is them not adapting. And we're starting to see it now. And listen, that's probably one of the main reasons why you guys can't get a good contract, because they want to keep working you like dogs, have a skeleton crew, and not pay you for your time and compensation. Like, quite literally, the minute you go over 8 hours, you should be getting, overtime.
Yeah.
All right. You should, you should have set days off a week where they don't call you in so you can have a fucking life. All right. And if they do have to call you in on a day off that you're not supposed to be called in, they have to compensate you for it. Because
That's
listen,
very true.
if
it would apply to virtually every other industry.
A lot of industries love to pay their people salary, and they literally work you like a fucking dog.
Yep.
All right, because they can literally put 80 hours on you a week and pay you for a 40-hour salary. Too fucking bad.
Yep.
And that's what it sounds to me like. You guys are in some kind of hybrid difference there, where you are not quite salary, but you're not hourly. How do they compensate you by the mile you said earlier? Is that?
Yes, they pay us by the miles. So the run that I'm on, I get a set amount for that run. Since we are paid by miles, 130 miles is equal to an 8-hour day. So I can't remember the last time I worked 8 hours.
Yeah, I know.
But after since 8 hours is equivalent to 130 miles, the ID run that I'm on is a little over 160 something miles. So I don't get paid hourly until after 10 hours and 9 minutes.
Okay.
Once I get to that 10th hour and 9 minute, then I am paid overtime.
How the fuck did it come with 9 minutes?
That's oddly specific.
But the thing is,
it goes by miles. A mile is so many minutes in an hour.
No,
Okay.
I totally get you. What I'm saying is this. So hypothetically, you're on your run. You're doing your deal. You're at like a mile 110, and there's a derail, and you're stuck there for a day and a half. Do they pay you for that time that you're literally sitting on the train rotting for a day and a half? Or do
they do. They do pay you. They do
Okay.
pay you.
Okay, but the thing is between 8 hours and 10 hours and 9 minutes, they're not paying you. That's 2 hours of free time that they get out of you.
Damn.
Well, they're paying you as far as a salary goes. You get a set amount.
Yeah, I got you. And we don't. I don't want to hear how much you're making, because they might be able to piece this together and come after you, which we don't want that to happen.
We don't want that. Because weren't you saying earlier that like they actually have a team of watchdogs that'll go on your social media and check you out, make sure that you're not talking smack or some shit?
That's exactly right.
The Army does that too.
They have literally an army of people that's all they do is scour social media And if they see you posting anything negative towards the industry, you
gone.
are fired.
And these people can't work real jobs like, I don't know, filling the labor quotient that's still 33% shy.
Yeah, I mean, the military does the same
It's like
thing.
puking on a pile
Yeah,
of shit.
it's the same thing that the military does, but it's not just the military or the rail industry. All big companies do this.
It's just, it's hilarious.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It cracks me up.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna?
Pretty much.
Well, my thing is this though: it sounds to me like the railroad industry just wants to keep continuing what they're doing because it's profitable for them.
Oh, I've been out here since 2003, and every year that I have been out here, the company I work for reports record profits every year.
Yep.
And when was the last time y'all got a raise?
We usually get a raise every time a contract comes around, but it doesn't even amount to the cost of living.
Yeah.
But if you haven't had a new contract, and if you've been working without a contract for 2.5 years, then wouldn't that mean that you haven't gotten a raise in close to 6?
Wow.
Yeah, that's exactly what it means.
Wow.
And with inflation, Biden-flation being exactly what it is, congratulations. A lot of y'all are going to be riding the poverty line real soon.
Well, I'm just going to put this out there.
Fuck's sakes.
All the people who work for the railroads need to fucking just walk off the job and say, fuck it.
Damn.
Well, that sounds all good in a nutshell.
Oh,
but,
I know.
We would literally get thrown in jail if we did.
Damn.
Well, threatening to throw somebody in jail and actually getting away with throwing people in jail are two different things.
Well, that's true. But, it's like that's how they got back in the 1980s.
With the air traffic controllers, I know. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. They said either go to work or go to jail.
And a lot of people said, fuck it, we're not doing it. And it literally crippled them it took them a half a decade to recover from all the people they lost.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that's not an easy job either. I mean, to sit in front of those screens is a lot of training and supervision and whew.
Yeah, because, in this article that I'm looking at here, you're talking about 128,000 railroad employees. You can't throw them all in jail. Democrats are currently running on a platform that says we can't keep putting these violent criminals in jail, so we're going to let them out 48 hours after they commit a murder.
Yep, and, but they, how they just wouldn't be able to justify that, especially... from my point of view, the workers for the railroad have a legitimate bitch.
Yeah. And just random question. If you're working without a contract, how can they throw you in jail for a violation of a contract?
That's right. Like, what the fuck?
It comes down to the security of the United States.
Listen, I'm all for security of the United States. But unless you are committing OBSEC by selling secrets or some shit, not going to work because they're not paying you what you're worth, that doesn't rise to that level, in my opinion. But listen, I'm just the devil's advocate here, running a show, trying to warn people out there that this is going to be a huge clusterfuck in the very near future if we don't.
So
fix it.
Going back to when the Biden administration announced that they struck a deal, what really scared the hell out of the United States government was when big city mayors across the United States, say like New York and stuff like that, when they found out that if we go on strike for 1 hour to 24 hours, we're talking about water treatment plants shutting down because they didn't get the chlorine delivered to treat the water.
I got you.
You're talking about, so that's really what it all comes down to, and that's why the federal government is absolutely terrified of this situation.
They should be.
Because they should be.
It's 100% their fucking fault if this thing fucking falls through. Because guess what? You have 6 companies. Each one of those companies probably works in a geographical region, meaning they have a local monopoly where they work. And monopolies are historically guilty of abusing their employees and what have you because there's no other competition. And that's why you're 6.5 years without a fucking contract since you signed your last one.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's a monopoly and they
So,
figure they can get away with it.
And I mean, once we do sign this next contract, we're already 2.5 years into a 4-year contract.
Yeah.
So the time just keeps getting shorter and shorter.
And you know what? You need to
contracts.
contact your union people and say, if you do sign a new contract, we want all of the raises and fees to be backdated 2.5 fucking years.
They do that. They have to do that.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that if I was a penny pinching fucking asshat, I wouldn't backdate shit.
Right. Right.
I mean,
pinching fucking asshat.
I'm just telling you. I mean, these corporate cronies who are counting the pennies are like, if we don't backdate this contract, it's going to save us, $150 million. But if we backdate it or if we put it today, we'll just don't pay them. And they just got fucked for 2.5 years and there's nothing they can do.
Nothing.
And to be honest, since you're not allowed to strike, why do you even have a fucking union? What good are they?
Exactly.
I mean, you have no power.
Our unions have been gutted.
Yeah.
I've worked for one of the largest unions in the United States other than the United States government union. And we have the least amount of power when it comes to bargaining our contracts and getting stuff done.
Strike
or anything.
Fuck it. Strike it. So what? You can't take a strike. If 100,000 people walk off the job, what are they going to fucking do?
Not a damn thing.
And I can guarantee you, 3 days later, when everyone's fucking going crazy, you're not going to have this problem again.
Well, there again, I don't want to be responsible for the country falling on its face in less than 24 hours just because I want better pay or better benefits.
Listen, I totally understand.
All of us out here on the railroad knows how important our job is.
I got you. And I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying if it's that important, then the company should fucking compensate you correctly for the importance of the job you're doing. And they're not doing that at all.
No.
What goes to where we're at right now? Why are we even here right now? It shouldn't even have went to this point.
Yeah, it should have been handled within 90 days of the last contract going bad.
Yeah, it should have been settled in July.
And I'm telling you right now, the reason why it's been 2.5 fucking years is they don't want to come off the money.
Yep.
That's exactly right.
Because when you boil everything down, it's always when you boil down the bullshit, you get to the bitches, the assholes, the dickheads, the asshats. But at the bottom, it's all fucking fueled by money.
Yep.
Well, yeah, as shareholders. It's welcome to corporate America. Shareholders is what controls everything in this country.
Yep.
No matter what company it is.
No. If you're big tech, they literally do whatever the fuck they want, and they don't clear it with the shareholders at all. And when they start going under, there's going to be huge lawsuits about that. Yep. But that's another show.
And that is why
that's true.
We're seeing, all these companies that are getting woke are going broke, and it's happening in spectacular fashion. That's why they're leaning so much on the Chinese market to try to make up for all the money they're losing over here, and that's not going very well for them either anymore.
No, there's all kinds of craziness going on in China.
Yep,
I've been fucking tracking that. Mm-hmm. I have about a half a dozen dudes who send me articles and fill me in on what they're seeing.
Well,
in and around China.
Well, you're going to have to track it because the media over here sure is.
No, they're not doing shit.
About it.
No,
because they're supposed to be the model for the rest of us, according to people like Justin Dildo up in Kazakhstan.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I've been doing this now for over a decade, and people have been sending me information on the regular for about 8 or 9 years. Mm-hmm. I have people who are in alphabet agencies every now and again sending me stuff. I got people still in the service.
Yep.
They don't violate OBSEC, but a lot of times they tell me what's going on if it's not classified. if it is classified, they point me to a document or a story that is open source, and they simply send me that link, and under there they said connect the dots, meaning something classified is contained within this article, and I read it, and usually I can figure out what it is.
Yeah, well, that's what you do.
Yeah, because I'm an evil fucking genius.
That's what they trained you to do.
Yeah, well, you're right. They spent a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a crazy buck wild rodeo, man. Wow.
And listen, the only thing I'm doing is I'm still honoring my fucking oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Well, as you
Because
said, there's
that
no
never
expiration.
expires.
It never expires. And granted, I'm old. I'm not really doing any dynamic shit, but I'm a shit talking motherfucker. And I know bullshit when I see it, and I don't have a problem pulling out the bullshit flag and throwing it for a redo or, a 10-yard penalty on the play.
Can anybody out there like make us a bullshit flag? You got like a woman who's good with the sewing or whatever. Make us like a couple of bullshit flags so we can throw that shit like referees on a football field.
Yeah, like we can easily make it with a beanbag and a red handkerchief.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
Bullshit!
Bullshit!
10 yards! New play.
Meat gazing, 5-yard penalty.
There you go.
Encroaching on my meat space.
But yeah, that we should do that. That'd be funny. I like it.
Let's see what else. You were talking earlier about the Class 1 railroads, and specifically, there's a lot of shit going on in there in terms of like safety, and I've heard that a lot of it like stems out of Illinois, like where it kind of all joins together. That's like a big source of
It's
where
a
the
hub.
problems are. Yeah.
Chicago, they have 3 big rail yards in and around Chicago, if I'm wrong.
And I'm just going to say, shocked that the big problem is a Democrat-run state.
Listen,
with Beetlejuice as the mayor of Chicago.
I can guarantee you, if I went down there to Chicago and walked, I could breach their security, wander all over the place. It's a travesty. It should not happen.
Yeah.
I'm just getting spun up here.
When we voted on this contract, the deadline for us as rail workers was November 20th. Out of 7 different unions on the railroad, because each individual job that you do for the railroad has its own union. The maintenance away, those are the guys that work on the track maintenance of the track. They repair the track. They voted no on their contract. The signal guys are the guys that work on railroad crossing lights and gates and stuff like that, and the traffic signals that we drive the trains over. They voted no on their contract. But
I bet you 10-1 there's no cola in there.
Well, that's exactly what happened with those guys, because they work out of town a lot. When I say work out of town, they stay out of town for up to 8 days at a time, and they could be anywhere from 200 to 400 miles away from their home. And they get per diem. Well, they voted no on the contract mainly because they were trying to take away their per diem.
Yeah, what the fuck are
so
they
why
thinking?
wouldn't you? Why would you vote yes for that? That's the major part of their salary.
The thing is, if you take away the per diem, you're basically removing about 30% of the person's paycheck just to pay for room, board, and food when he's away from.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
That's
fuck
exactly
that.
right, because they have to check into hotels and motels and stuff like that. So yeah, that per diem is how they even do their job.
Yeah. Well, listen, when I used to get sent on missions or schools, I got paid per diem. Unless if the installation had a chow hall and a barracks, then I stayed there. But if they didn't, I was on the economy and I got a per diem.
Right.
And listen, there's no way as a soldier I would be able to afford traveling as much as I did in regards to the military and all of the crap they had me doing if they didn't pay for my per diem.
Right.
I just couldn't do it.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, you got the 30-pound brain, evil, greedy motherfucker asshats who want to, save yet more money, and they're not actually realizing that their industry is going to implode if they don't unfuck this ASAP.
All of this all of this is stemming from what the railroad started right at the beginning of the pandemic, which was it was called Precision Schedule Railroading, and it's the acronym PSR. And basically, all that is if your viewers that can look this up, but there's a term called scavenger capitalism, and basically, is what it is what it amounts to is basically major layoffs, personnel cuts, and wherever they can trim fat, they're going to trim fat. And over the past two years, they have literally been laying off as many jobs as they can. And everybody's heard the term "do more with less."
Yep.
That's corporate America today.
Yeah, and guess what? There's two words for that: mismanagement.
Yep.
Well,
That's
it's all about maximum profits and keeping the shareholders happy.
Now listen, I understand. Listen, I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. All right. With that being said, though, you have to be able to project into the future and go, you know what? If I lay all these people off and all of this turns around, I am not going to have enough people to handle what I have going on. So you people that are here, you're going to work extra hard until we get caught up. But the thing is, they never catch up because these people get used to being slaved to death and not getting compensated for it.
I 100% agree with you on that as far as capitalism goes. Everybody knows what capitalism is. But when you start laying off employees to the point where you're doing it as you're operating a $1 billion business on a shoestring budget, and
bad shit's happening.
You can't even perform your daily functions as a company because you don't have the personnel. It doesn't take long for it to catch up and start biting you in the ass.
Yep. Like, all right,
that's exactly what we're facing right now.
Well, here's an example. Back when I used to do mortgages and financial planning, I got hired on at this one company to do VA loans, and I did VA loans for half the country. Then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, Pop, we want you to train people on how to do VA loans. And I'm literally like, Pete was my boss. I'm like, can I see my job duties and titles? He hands it to me, and I'm like, nowhere in here does it say that I have to be an instructor or teacher. So if I'm not getting compensated for doing 2 jobs, I'm only doing 1 job. That's it. And it's quite common for somebody to go get into a company, start working, then the guy gets sick, hurt, laid off, and then you're doing his job, but they don't raise your pay.
Yep.
Exactly.
And like I have a buddy of mine who's doing 4 fucking people's jobs now.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the new corporate America.
That's insane.
It's been like that.
I don't see it getting any better.
No, you're right.
It's been corporate America since I think about second term Reagan, when he was too demented, and then eventually the cronies around him started running shit for him, and that's when you started seeing, like the cuts instead of expansions, and everybody was just worried about their shareholders, didn't give a flying fuck. Clinton came in, globalism made it 1,000 times worse, and we see where we're headed now. Yeah,
like literally, if the trains quit running, it's going to be absolute pandemonium.
Yeah. When you've been saying for years that at any given time, this country is 72 hours away from havoc. The railroad system is how you do that.
Yep.
24 hours.
Yeah.
24 hours. That's all it takes. 24 hours. When people don't have clean drinking water because there's no chlorine at the water treatment plant,
that's going to get spicy.
That's what it starts off right there. That's where it kicks off. Then the food comes next.
Yep.
It's going to get spicy.
Very
just
spicy.
To give you an example. Look, I love truck drivers. We all do. We've been seeing during the pandemic of all the drama that the truck drivers were having to go through with the vaccinations and all that. Everybody loves truck drivers. I love truck drivers because if it wasn't for the truck drivers, the shit wouldn't get on the shelves.
My dad was a truck driver.
Yep.
Exactly.
But the thing is,
what people are overlooking when you see a freight train going down the track, let's just say that freight train's 15,000 feet long. He's got 165 to 175 cars on that train. That's 165 to 175 trucks.
Yep.
We are the rail industry. We are the first link in the supply chain inside the United States borders. We are the first people to touch the freight. The truck drivers are the second.
I got you. No, I'm not arguing with that at all. It's absolutely true.
Yep.
But my thing is this, is making it bigger and having the government come in is not going to make it better.
Oh.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, just like I was saying earlier about Amtrak, a lot of people don't even know that the federal government owns Amtrak. And the reason why the federal government owns Amtrak is 1978. They were fixing to go bankrupt. And the government used the term, well, they're too big to fail. Y'all remember that term during Obama?
Shocker.
Yep.
Well, that term was used in 1978 with Amtrak. So the federal government bought out Amtrak because they are too important and too big to fail. The United States government still owns Amtrak today because nobody wants to buy a passenger train railroad because it's not profitable. Every year, Amtrak loses money. Every year. They're just like the
U.S. Post Office.
Yep.
You're absolutely correct.
They're just like the United States Post Office. And your tax dollars is funding that passenger train to run up and down the track every day. You're buying that diesel for that train to run. So why is the American public even having to buy tickets for that train? Your tax dollars is paying for that train. You should be able to get on that train for free.
Damn.
Well, in a perfect Star Trek world where I can just push a button and get all the free food and shit I want, you could do that. But in the real world of today, where you got to pay for shit, it's not possible.
Yep.
Right.
But my thing is this. If Amtrak is losing money, it's because they just don't have enough asses and seats.
That's it right there alone, is they're not making a profit because they cannot get enough people to ride trains. Because, like I was saying, the only place that Amtrak is actually profitable is up on the northeastern seaboard, where hardly anybody owns cars.
Well,
where I live in Texas, everybody has a car, and if you need to go to point A to point B, you drive.
Yeah. Listen, there was many times when I was traveling around by train where I had like 4 people in a whole car. Unless it's around Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve. It really, or like 4th of July maybe, but I never really rode the tracks during any of the other.
It's mostly winter, right?
Mostly winter.
Yeah.
But other than that, there was a lot of empty seats.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, man, if you're going to jump on a passenger train, don't make any plans that involve being on time.
Yes, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
You're playing Russian roulette every time you step on one of those motherfuckers.
Well, I will say this, though. The sleeper car, that is the cat's ass right there. Because you go, like, there was a couple times I went down to Florida from Michigan, got the sleeper car, 2 days, just came out to eat, went back and hibernated, and just did my own thing.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. But, other than that, when I rode coach, it was scum and villainy. No, listen, like I'm literally stopped at the train station in Ohio.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting for the bus to bring me into Detroit.
Oh, I know exactly which stop you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like a 4-hour wait. Oh. So I'm sitting there, and like these 3 guys come in, and they start asking people for money. And they're big dudes. They're like strong-arming people.
I'd be like, if I had money, would I be riding the fucking train?
Well, I
Get
mean,
the hell out of here.
They literally go to this Indian couple. They're from India. Like the woman had the dot.
I think that lights up when the coffee's ready.
And they're like, you have $20. The guy like's pulling out his wallet. I'm like, hey, hey, this is ridiculous. You're shaking down everyone here. We're gonna get the fucking cops in here and fuck you up. Well, it's none of your business. He wants to give me the money. I'm like, dude, this is a fucking shakedown. All right. And who do you think they're gonna believe? The guy in the uniform or you? Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, and that happened all the time. Most of the time, I didn't get involved, but when it's happening right next to me, I'm like, okay.
All right, man.
Yeah. But the one in Ohio, one time I was, I didn't go 1 week. I was doing, I was in Wisconsin, Fort McCoy. They had a shooting right out in front of the train station.
Just scum and villainy.
The scum and villainy.
Wow.
Yeah. And never, there's virtually no security.
Damn.
Yeah. I could walk on there with a Christmas wrapped bazooka. I could have it on my shoulder. It's wrapped, and there's there could be bows on it. And what's this? Oh yeah. This is my long range evaporator. Yes.
I'm a plumber. But it is 9:05. So before we adjourn and go to New Tech, because I know some people on YouTube still are not following us over to New Tech.
Oh, gotcha.
You poor sad saps, all 907 of you.
Can we go another 10 minutes?
Yeah, we can go another 10 minutes, but what I wanted to boil it down with for the last 10 minutes is Raildog, I just got to know, with a diesel shortage and still no contract on the table, where do you see this going in the next month?
Or 6 months.
December 8th will be the deadline for our contract.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a strike. And I want to let everybody know there's not going to be a strike, because the government is not going to allow a strike to happen. There is not a senator, a congressman that wants to have their name attached to the fact that they were the reason why the railroad shut down.
They can blame me. I'm telling all those, you guys are getting screwed. You need to fucking go on strike.
Well, I wish it was that simple. I really do, but it's
so do I. So do I. But because listen, they're taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
Yes,
and you have no power to change it. That's fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing about it is, I don't like the fact that I woke up this morning with my cup of coffee and I turned on the news, and I don't like the fact that the industry I'm working for is front headline news, and I'm just waiting for the media to start villainizing us as railroad workers. So far, they're not. Mm-hmm. So far, they are being supportive of what's going on. But all I do know is that as I turn that news on and I see that, I don't even want this to even be in the news. It shouldn't even. Yeah. That's where I was talking about. We shouldn't even be at this point.
Nope.
And that's what's so frustrating and aggravating about it, is that the fact that for the first time we're in the news. Maybe it's a good thing that now there's a big spotlight on this, and now everybody knows. Hell, the company I work for, they got voted 2 years in a row they were voted 2 years in a row to be the worst company to work for in the United States.
Wow.
More than Comcast?
Whoa, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
And so maybe since this is in the media and everything, maybe this will shed some light on it. And I know that the railroads are not happy about this. And the fact that it's in the news it's kind of like, when you turn the light on and you go into a room and there's a bunch of roaches, you turn that light on and all the roaches start running every different direction.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of what these guys in the Class 1 railroads are doing right now. They don't like all this attention being brought to them, and maybe it's a good thing that this is actually happening. I don't know.
Well, time will tell.
Yeah, that's about it right there.
All right.
It's either way, with the way things are with this administration, it's still going to get worse, even if it allegedly gets better. And you're right to be concerned about potentially being villainized, because really all it takes is just for the Biden administration to send a different set of marching orders to the media, and then you're the bad guy. Just like we saw a complete role reversal in the media on Ukraine.
And Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Elon Musk. Prior to Trump calling out Ukraine as being a hive of scum and villainy, that's exactly what the media portrayed them as. They have a neo-Nazi problem. That there's a lot of embezzlements and business schemes that go through Ukraine. As soon as Trump said that that's exactly what was happening, all of a sudden you got the cross-dressing messiah posing for all the fucking Vanity Fair magazine bullshit, allegedly in a war zone.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's all it takes is in the drop of a hat for a news cycle to completely change directions is for something just like that.
Yep. All it takes is the White House to say, we don't like them. Do you mind messing with the mentality of the masses for us? Yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Because, propaganda and all that other horse shit.
1, 2, 3. Bullshit!
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take a little break here, refill the menageries, empty the squirrel bladders, and we have a lot of questions specifically for you, Raildog, so don't go anywhere, unless you need to go, drain your squirrel bladder,
I'm good.
drain the main vein, do whatever you got to do.
I'll stay on.
Look for those links in the chat on YouTube so you guys can follow us over to Rumble, Odyssey, MGTOW.tv, DLive, or Twitch, if Twitch is actually working tonight, because you know how it goes. Would you like a roll call before we leave?
No, we're good.
All right, we're good. All right, we'll see you guys in about 5 minutes. Look for those links, or you can go to the link tree, which is in the meat gazer box.
Take it easy.
Because you like gazing at the meat, especially when it's positioned just right in front of Pop. That was funny as hell, man.
You're an asshole. Man.
Yes, I am.